Christopher Darden was a prosecutor in Los Angeles, and circumstances turned his life around. He became involved in the O.J. Simpson case as a prosecutor. He was involved emotionally, he was involved personally, he was involved professionally. It clearly had a deep and profound impact on him, his life, and his career. We all watched him as he played his role as a prosecutor, as he did the things that he had been taught to do in that case, clearly having a significant impact on him throughout the trial and later. He has now written a book about his experiences, about his life. It is called Christopher Darden in Contempt. But before we go to him and this conversation, take a look at a portion of his summary argument as the trial of the century ended.
O.J. Simpson's a murderer. That's what the evidence indicates. That is what the evidence indicates. That is what the evidence shows. It shows that he's not just a murderer, but he's a double murderer. And that's unfortunate. It's unfortunate that I have to stand here and tell you this, because I'd rather be somewhere else. I'm sure you'd rather be somewhere else. Who wants to really have to confront and deal with these issues? But we have to, because we have a duty. Marcia and I have a duty, and you have a duty as well. Your duty is to look at all the evidence, to be fair, be conscientious, be objective. And your duty is to look at all the evidence, the totality of circumstances, everything. We don't want you to just look at one piece. Don't just look at the prosecution's case. Look at the entire case. Look at everything. Because when you do, what can you say? Except he did it. And we've proven it. And we've proven it beyond a reasonable doubt.
We're pleased to have him here on this program to talk about his life, about this trial, and a lot of other things, including the future. Welcome.
Well, thank you for having me.
Let me talk first about the trial itself, and then talk about you and your family and your brother especially. What were the 3 or 4 turning points in that trial for you, for the prosecution, in your judgment, you know, in hindsight?
Well, it depends on which direction the case turned. I think that some of the important points were the numbers on the DNA, the frequency ratios. Obviously, Mark Furman testifying that he hadn't used the N-word in a 10-year period. The coroner's testimony, Dr. Lakshmanan testifying that one person could have killed both of these 2 people. And then, of course, the McKinney tapes and the evidence of racial epithets that came out in the defense case.
Not to point to this as well as in lieu of something else. How about the gloves?
See, I thought you were going to let me get past
No,
that.
I thought I'd let you come back.
Okay, the gloves. You got me. The gloves.
Significant at the time.
Well, you know, when the glove demonstration occurred, I thought there were some problems with it. I didn't think that it was a monumental failure. Some people apparently thought it was at the time, but apparently in the minds of some, certainly in the minds of the pundits and the media, a critical point in the prosecution's case.
Looking back now, knowing what impact it had on your life, if Gil Garcetti said to you, I want you on this case, would you take the assignment in hindsight today?
No, no, I wouldn't. You know, there was an occasion when Marcia and I had a conversation where she said to me, well, what would you do if the case hangs? Will you come back and retry it with me? And I said to her, no, I've had enough.
Would she have retried it, for sure?
I think she would have retried it.
Did it have a different impact on you than it did on her?
I think so. The fact that I was an African American created different pressures for me than it did for her.
And so therefore the consequence after it's over is different?
I think so. I think the consequence is different. You know, now we have the Darden dilemma. Now we're focusing on issues of how it is and what it means to be an African American and prosecute other African Americans. Of course, in my community, there are those who believe him to be innocent today, as they did months ago. And so there are additional consequences for me.
Why do you think so many African Americans see it differently than you did?
Well, I think that how you perceive things and how you view things has a lot to do with your own personal life experience. And to be an African American in this country is to have a life experience different from what whites have. In the city of Los Angeles, we have had some difficulties with the LAPD and police relations in the black community. You can't walk through our community and meet people without someone telling you that they have had a negative experience, that they've somehow been harassed or deprived of their constitutional rights, or have had a negative experience with the local police department. And African Americans in LA are suspicious of the LAPD.
And so they're ready to believe that evidence was planted, and blood was planted, and gloves were taken from one location, or glove was taken from one location to another, because their experience has said police do those things.
That's correct. And because it is their suspicion that you can't trust the police. You can't trust everything they say.
Are they right?
I think that a lot of things have been blown out of proportion. I think there are dirty cops in the city of Los Angeles. I know. I've prosecuted some. I've investigated some and attempted to prosecute some, but wasn't able to do so. So I know that unlawful, illegal conduct sometimes occurs involving police officers. How prevalent that is, I don't know. Who can say? But sometimes a rumor, a rumor somehow takes on an air of reality, and pretty soon you can't tell what's real and what's not.
Taking an easy case, do you believe Vanetta lied at all?
I don't believe Vanetta lied at all.
So when he said we didn't think O.J. Simpson was a suspect, he was telling the truth?
I think he was telling the truth when he said that. And let me tell you, I spent a lot of time with Phil Vanetta, and I think I gained his confidence. And I'm a prosecutor, and I have a badge, and he's a detective, and he has a badge, and we sort of we sat at the bar a couple of times, and we discussed these kinds of issues.
Kicked him back and had it heart to heart.
And had a heart to heart, and I think that those detectives, in addition to having been ordered to go to Rockingham to notify O.J. Simpson, I think they were a little starstruck. I mean, he was O.J. Simpson, one of the greatest football players in the history of the NFL, and I think they wanted to meet the guy. I honestly think they were just a little starstruck, in addition to having been ordered up there.
Were you?
Starstruck?
Mm-hmm.
By O.J. Simpson?
Mm-hmm.
Well, I certainly admired his career as a tailback in the NFL, but the first time I saw O.J. Simpson in connection with this case, he didn't look to be a
Heisman Trophy winner.
A Heisman Trophy winner or a Hall of Famer. He looked to be the person we assumed him to be. We believed him to be based on the evidence.
He looked it. What do you mean?
Well, first time I saw him was in the summer of '94. I was doing the AC County's grand jury investigation. And I don't know, I guess maybe he hadn't been outside in the sun very much. He hadn't had very much exercise. But I remember seeing him. I thought perhaps he might be on some type of medication. And he didn't look like the guy we saw on television. He didn't look like the guy in the commercial at all. He had a sinister look about him. And that was my perception when I saw him in the summer of 1994. And I remember saying to Cochran at the time, and this is before I came on the Simpson case, hey, make sure your guy gets some exercise. He gets some sun. He doesn't look like himself.
Is one of the tragedies of this a rupture in the friendship with Johnnie Cochran?
Well, I don't know how much of a tragedy it is, but certainly it has interfered with whatever relationship we had before, and our relationship before was primarily professional.
Well, but it had a tinge of mentor-protege, did it not?
Well, perhaps. I had a lot of respect for Johnnie Cochran. He was a prominent lawyer in the city of L.A. He had a very prominent law firm.
Do you still?
Do I still what?
Have respect for him?
I respect his ability as a trial lawyer. I think that there are a lot of things done in his case that are unconscionable.
Unconscionable?
Unconscionable. Perhaps not unforgivable, because I think, forgiveness is something we should all strive for.
What was unconscionable?
Well, I think, the references to Hitler, I think the twin demons are devils of deception. I think that, I think that they hit the ball more than once. I think that they sometimes seem to violate the rules of ethics.